Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Authors Up. We are glad that you are here with us. I'm here with my co-hosts, Ruth E. Griffin and Victoria E. Henderson. We've had a good day today. We hope you have as well. It was bright and sunny here in North Carolina, and it was Palm Sunday for those of you who celebrate and recognize. And it was just a good day. It's been a good day. And we just welcome you warmly. We hope that you are warm because it's a little bit chilly, but we're glad to have you. Glad that you were here tonight, and hope you will share this broadcast with others because we got a great guest tonight and a great book that we've had the opportunity to read. And I'm not going to say any more about that. You know how Victoria is. So we'll just wait on that for a little bit. But ladies,
I'll get the banner ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready to say it.
How would you like to greet our audience tonight, Ruth? What do you have to say?
Just welcome. Thank you for joining us. We love that you're here. We wouldn't be a show without you.
That's it.
All right. And you, Victoria?
I have nothing else I could add to that. It's to say again, hello to all our viewers and our listeners in podcast land. Thank you so much for joining us. We're just excited to be here once again. We've been out of the studio for a few weeks, but it's nice to be back live. And nice to be back with my bronze girls. Missed you. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Well, I tell you what, since you were there and in such a good mood, why don't you start us off with the weekend review? Tell us what you've been up to, because like you said, you've been missing. We haven't been together for a little bit.
That's
so
it.
What's been happening?
Well, my weekend since we've been last seen each other, I have gone to Indiana and back to see my mom, and that was good. She had cataract surgery, and she's recovering nicely. She got one eye done, and then in May she'll get the other eye done. And she was like, when she finally, got over the grogginess or whatever, she said, "Oh, it's so bright." She said, "This eye, the right eye," she said, "It's so bright. I can see." Well, you can see now, Alice. She said, "You mean it?" And she, compared the two eyes, and she could see the difference. So I'm very happy that they have these kind of things, and they could do even, in her advanced age. She's 92 years young, and almost 92 anyway. But to be able to give her a better quality of life just made my heart happy, And I hadn't seen her in 6 months, so it was really, really good to see her. And they're just, doing little better along my own health journey. I have started seeing a nutritionist, and since we've last talked, I've had 2 sessions with the nutritionist, and I'm on track doing the things that I'm supposed to do, and it really helps to have that support.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is that I'm not consuming enough protein. So she told me about certain protein shakes, which ones are the better ones, which is the not so good ones. And I really could tell a difference by doing that protein shake versus a cup of coffee and like a Nutri-Grain bar or something in the morning versus having that 30 grams of protein. It has made a difference. So I'm just excited to share that I'm, on that journey. And hopefully by the time we get to the gala in October, I'll be slim and stealthy and can fit the gown, stealthy. And can fit the gown that I purchased. It'll be, a little better. So yeah, that's what I got going on. So I'm really happy to be here again tonight. Just
awesome.
Thanking God to be here.
Awesome. And you, Ruth, I've been having a good week because of you.
Yes.
You made my week this week. So tell us what's happening.
Come on, lock it and
load them. Look. I'm gonna talk about the only thing I have been talking about for the last month or so. The countdown is done, and Miss Mercy is finally here. So
that's a baby.
I know.
When are we going to show her on the air?
We'll show them next week. So
Okay. Okay.
to make her debut. But,
Okay.
but
Okay.
yeah, so she my daughter was late. She was overdue. So I think Miss Mercy was cooking for like an extra week. But and my daughter treated herself. I mean, I think I sent you guys the picture. She was going to the gym the day
Up
before.
until
Yep.
Up until, I tell you what, the day before we went to the gym, we went to the car wash. She was just like, we ran it through, but then she was like vacuuming and doing all this other stuff. And I'm like, can I do something? Can I help you? She's like, oh, just pick up the trash. And I'm like, come on. We went to the store. She's walking around, and it's funny because from when we were pregnant, our moms were always like, well, just go walk up and down the stairs and do something like that. That'll help hasten labor. I'm like,
right.
no, no. So she did go into labor. They had to induce her. It was about 22 hours, but she finally came
Wow.
on last Friday.
Yes.
2:52 in the morning. So
Congratulations.
thank you. And she is just so cute and so quiet and so alert. Oh my gosh. If you could, I think I sent you guys the photo. 2 hours after birth, she was just
Just
like
looking
wide
around.
awake, like mad,
Hello.
like I'm here. Now what? So she looks like my son-in-law, but I'm like, that attitude is all my daughter. So until she, her looks catch up with mom, she is definitely my daughter's child in attitude. So,
She's a cutie.
but she's just quiet and just alert, and I cannot wait to go back up and
She's
visit with her. So,
beautiful. She's beautiful. Congratulations to you
thank you,
all.
thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, so that will be my weekend review for the next foreseeable future.
That's fine. And we love it. We are here for it.
Yeah. Yeah. My week in review was living through Ruth's week in review.
It's like,
We were all waiting for the baby, and me. Where are the pictures? That's it. What we've only had one picture. What in the world's going on? Get on your job, abuela.
That's
Get
it.
us some
yeah.
pictures. Yeah, but she's really a beautiful baby.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
My week was busy. I had some challenges with systems and techie kinds of things that were about to drive me nuts, and losing documents and all that kind of thing that kind of makes your day long.
Oh.
End of the week, I had an opportunity to spend some time with a friend of mine doing some companion care, I like to call it, just to be able to sit with her. We have crossed the 50-year mark in
Oh
terms of
wow.
friendship, and I'm so
Awesome.
blessed that I have friends that I have had for such a very long time. So we really had a good time together, and just a good time talking about where we are in life and all that good stuff. So it was a good week. I look forward to next week. Still have a lot of things to do, but I have learned that guess what I can get to do? Shift.
Well,
Can't get it all done. Sometimes you just gotta shift, and sometimes it's a good thing. So I have had a good week. I am looking forward
good.
to this week coming up. I'm looking forward to more pictures of the baby. And
Yo.
but for right now, I am looking forward to us talking to and introducing you all to our author of the evening. And Victoria is going to tell us a little bit about him.
All
Yep.
right.
Now
All
that
right.
she has her glasses on.
You didn't have to say nothing that I was a little blind. You didn't have to say nothing about all that.
Maybe I'll shame you into wearing them more often.
I know, right? And I'll say, you know what? Why am I sitting here acting like I can't see? That I can see. So
You'll be
I
doing
tried
this
to
in a minute.
casually just slip them on, and here she go. Here she go. Tell all my business. But anyway, we have a wonderful author. I love the book. Anyway, Mr. Grinnell Buzz Desjarlais is the author of the historical fiction novel Saving Casey. It is a profound exploration of addiction, recovery, and the timelessness of love and forgiveness. It is set against the backdrop of post Vietnam America. His debut novel weaves these powerful themes into a story that resonates deeply with readers, offering a unique perspective on the challenges and redemptions of life. Born on the Rocky Boys Indian Reservation in Montana, also known as the Chippewa Cree Reservation, Buzz comes from a lineage steeped in creativity and cultural preservation. His father famously represented their native culture in the 1939 classic film Susanna of the Mounties alongside Shirley Temple, while his great grandfather, Mountain Chief, was a revered figure in their community. Beyond his writing, Buzz is an activist dedicated to supporting Native American communities. Buzz's life has been filled with diverse experiences, including his service in the U.S. Army, where he was stationed in Germany. He has lived in various parts of the world, including California, and now resides south of Seattle with his wife, Loni. His daughter, Mackenzie, and her family, which includes his grandsons, Cohen and Kaplan, live nearby. So, after a brief break, we'll be right back to talk with Buzz about his novel, Saving KC. We'll be right back.
Yay!
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, we are so glad to have you, Buzz. Thank you for joining us on the show.
You betcha.
All right, Buzz, tell us about your book, Saving Casey.
Well, it is a historical fiction. It's maybe a little bit different. When I put it together, I was trying to figure out a way to pull things together and how to approach this thing. So it's fashioned after the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Oh,
which in and of itself is somewhat of a historical fiction.
Mhm.
And for those that have seen it, it's kind of a realistic unfolding of some events, and then about halfway it takes off. And
Okay.
that's what this does. This story is fashioned in a roundabout way about the story of Karen Carpenter.
Mm.
We don't use her real name. The people are fictitious, that sort of thing. It's a disclaimer, of course. But she died young of anorexia nervosa,
Mhm.
and so many people have always asked, "Gee, what would have been? How could we have saved her? How could have this? How could have this? How could this have unfolded in such a way where she would have been able to live to a ripe old age and continue on with her miraculous talent and
Mhm.
her vocal abilities?" So,
Right.
kind of what this did. So, briefly, that's kind of what it's about.
Okay. Now you use obviously your background as a Native American
Yeah.
for the characters and the settings and just the story. So um and obviously that would place it within the timeline that you did.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's in this. This takes place in the late '60s, early
mhm.
into the '70s. We
Yes.
had to get up to speed and match kind of what was going on there.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So
Interesting. So I'm sorry, go ahead and finish.
no, go ahead.
All right. So thank you for that, Buzz. Tell us about your name.
Grinnell Desjarlais. Uh, there is a So I'm an amalgamation of two reservations in Montana. One is the Rocky Boy Indian
Okay.
Reservation, where my mother is from, and the Blackfeet Indian Reservation, about 150 miles to the west, where my father was from.
Mhm.
In Indian country, things happen a little bit different. Well, maybe no different than other places. I never got to meet my father. I knew who he was. You've got
Oh,
two tribes who
Mhm.
really were almost at war with one another most of the time
Oh.
through history. So if you got one person from here, one person from there, they run off and get married, and then of course those tribes intervene and say, "Hey, brr,
Mhm.
wow.
scrub all this stuff," and then but they didn't stop the train in time, and so here I am.
Ah,
So I have I have on both reservations I have relatives,
oh,
Oh
and
wow.
wow.
my father's from Blackfeet, my mother's from Chippewa Cree.
Mhm.
To a little bit of history again, back then the government schools were in force where my mother was born and my father, and so my
Mhm.
mother was and her family was a product of those schools,
Mhm.
Mm,
and they we've seen through the years that they're very abusive.
Right.
yes.
And when you're on the reservation, you're a Catholic, and that's it, you know.
Mhm.
And then the Jesuits raise you, and I'm no different. And I learned my Latin at a young age, and I still remember a lot of it.
Wow.
Wow.
So some of that history. On the other side, of course, my father was in the movie Shirley Temple, as you pointed out earlier. Uh, an interesting thing, and some of those
Mhm.
clips are still around on IBDN or whatever you call it. You
Right.
Mhm.
can see the clip with him and Shirley Temple, and he pushes her on the ground and he abuses her. And I thought, gee, that's not a very good advertisement,
Right.
but
Wow.
it's kind of this amalgamation. And of course, we pass on some of these things
Mhm.
that are quite negative. You know, the old generational thing,
Yes.
intergenerational abuse comes
Right.
along, and my mother died of alcoholism.
Mhm.
My stepfather had a stepfather. That's why I get the last name. John Charlie. He passed away at the age of 61. So everyone dies young. And,
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yep. 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 Yep.
kind of the way it is. We deal with abandonment and all this kinds of things.
Mhm.
I have five brothers and sisters. I was the oldest of them. And, that's part of the story too, but
Mhm.
really not the subject matter we're going to talk about, I hope.
No, no, no. But you know what? We do believe that those things do inform how we write,
Mhm.
what we
Yeah.
write. I'm sure that this book, is connected to your life experience, your history, whether it's in the army or working, serving your community, your youth. Um, how do you see the book tying into all that?
Well, it's somewhat interesting. This is the first book I've written,
Hmm.
and a debut novel. Now, as I pointed out to you guys before, by trade I'm an electrician,
Hmm.
and before I became an electrician, I was a horrible drunk, and I
Okay.
spent years just having a lot of trouble with that. And today I'm 40 years sober,
I hear you. All
Awesome.
right.
and
All right.
and
Yes,
I
yes.
and I
Celebrate.
and I still attend those secret anonymous meetings.
Hmm.
Still do that thing, but
Wow.
uh, that that thing sustains me.
Hmm.
Um, obviously, you can't you can't be affected by these other things and
Hmm.
become involved in one's community. That just doesn't happen
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
because by nature, when we're captured by that sort of thing, we are very self-centered, selfish, and that's the deal. How do
Hmm.
we get out of that sort of thing? And that's a major part of recovery is moving. I told my sponsees it's moving from being a taker to a giver,
Mm.
and that's a long journey. It doesn't happen overnight because it's 10 miles in and 10 miles out,
Right.
Wow.
and it just doesn't happen by itself. And no one waves a wand.
Hmm.
But we talk about these spiritual things, and I had a difficult time because in recovery people talk about spirituality. And I thought, well, if that's what I have to do, then I'm a dead duck because the priest already told me I was going to hell.
Oh my.
Ay,
So the wise old sponsor tells me, this isn't about that. This is a
Mhm.
spiritual program. I said, what does that mean? He said, well, you can believe in astrology if you want to or whatever. So I took him seriously.
wow.
Mhm.
Today, I am a student of a lot of different things. I'm probably more
Awesome.
Buddhist than I am anything, although I don't go to
Mhm.
temple or anything.
Mhm.
Right.
And I do believe in reincarnation
Mhm.
and some of the other things that go on. And I read weird stuff. I study quantum reality and quantum physics. Uh, those kinds of things, and
Mhm.
I still have that OCD part of me that a lot of us still have, where I find a thread and I just keep pulling and pulling and pulling until because I got to find the
Yep.
answers.
Yep. That
And,
hyper focus.
and the world is incomplete unless I.
Yes.
So that book is kind of that way too. When I started to
Uh-huh.
write it, and maybe that's
Wow.
Okay.
a question you want to ask or something down the line. I don't know.
So how long have you been writing? Is it, I mean, is this your first foray into writing, or you just wake up one morning and said, this, I have to write this story down, or was it something just, because you spoke about the, coming from a lineage of creativity. So is this
And
just a natural evolution for you?
I'm I I've been a logger. I've
Mhm.
worked on the steel gang for the railroad. Done all of these manly things,
Uh-huh.
and I never ever saw myself as a writer or any sort of creative
Wow.
because there was so much of a disconnect with that stuff. And real men don't do that stuff.
Mm,
We don't cry, we don't show emotion, we don't do any of that stuff.
Right.
right.
And
Right.
that leads to some great psychological issues after a while if we lose connection to that sort of thing. A
Hmm.
quick story. I was sober probably about 10 years, and I was working for a company in a small town, Eastern Washington. And the employer gathered us all up, and you guys are going to take a Myers Briggs test. A what?
Yeah.
So they give you the test. You're at last year, you check all the boxes and you answer all these questions,
Mm-hmm.
and then the guy comes back and he interviews you. And so the Myers Briggs is, my personality. All the guys' personality types are up here in this quadrant, and then mine is down here. I'm the only one down there. And so the interviewer says, "I said, well, what does that mean?" He said, "Well, you you should have been a priest or a psychiatrist or a writer or an actor." And I
Oh
thought, oh,
wow.
bull, Dr. Jesus Christ, what a waste of time.
Oh wow.
And all these other guys are asking, wait, well, what are you? What are you? And I wasn't going to tell them. I thought, oh, but years later, I had my own business, which I do
Uh-huh.
today, and my daughter's taken it over, thank God.
Oh,
But
nice.
my friend of mine, he says, well, why don't you have your employees take a Myers Briggs test? Because I was kind of complaining about some stuff. And I said, oh, that thing is duff. He said, well, what do you mean? And so he talked. He said, why don't you take it again and see what happens? So I did. I came out the very same thing.
Oh wow.
And I thought, what the hell?
And here we are.
So,
Yeah. So
so it's kind of started kind of thinking about that. And what that is there's a measure of acceptance to be had in that, because
yes.
then we
Mhm.
start talking about our real feelings about what is, well, I kind of do like that. And when there's a sad part of the movie, I'll leave the room, if you know what I mean. I can't have my wife live with her. What's wrong with you? Is you crying? No. So we learn these connections, and with me with this story, I reconnected with Karen Carpenter. We would have been
Mhm.
the same age. 74,
wow.
she'd be 70, 75. So she was my first crush. I just loved her. Loved her voice, all that stuff. And
Yes.
reconnected all these years later through YouTube and watching these videos and listening. And then I read her story, read a couple of books on it. I thought, it's the saddest thing in the damn world, the way this woman was treated by her own family and the music industry, all these things. And they're just like, they all conspired to come at the same time, and it just killed her off, you know. And it's just like, I found it the saddest doggone thing, and I don't know why that is, you guys, but I became so emotional over this thing, and I didn't know what to do with these feelings.
Wow.
And I was just ready to explode. I didn't know what to do with it, so I just started writing, and just. This thing started to go around up here, and how am I going to do this? And so I had to come up with a male part of that had issues, and so we give him some issues, and we take we take him out of Montana, the Blackfeet Indian Reservation, and between that reservation and my reservation that I'm enrolled at. That is all our stomping grounds, our ritualized stomping grounds, and this takes place there.
Yeah.
And so it's all there, and so I started writing this thing, and I didn't know where it was going. But that's another complete story. How do we get a publisher? How do we do all those things? And it's a self-published effort, and because I knew I wasn't going to get picked up by one of the big 4 or 3 or whatever many there are now.
Yeah.
So I self-published, and I just kept working on it piece by piece. And actually, from the start to finish, it took about 3 months.
What?
Yes, that's how that was.
Oh, wow.
It's just unbelievable. You got 400 and some odd pages of stuff. Where'd that come from?
Wow.
You know, that's why I'm saying, what? I don't write.
Yeah.
And I tell my publisher, I'm not a writer. And he said, you're a writer. You wrote a book.
Amen. You are.
You are a published author. So just get used to saying that. Yes. So
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Emotional, spiritual event. I can tell you, when I was in the middle of this thing, I'm a night owl, and I would just take a break, and I would walk out into my kitchen here, and I would just break down.
Wow.
And just cry. And of course, everybody was in bed. So they can't see me crying. So all of this emotion goes into that thing, and it was, some places were just difficult to write about, hard to do. But yeah, there we are.
Well
part.
Well written. It was well
It
written.
was
And
very,
a great story.
very well. And I think that perspective, I don't think is one that we have touched on, that is just in you, that you just surrender to what you are, which is an author, So
Yeah.
that is awesome. So, Andrea, what you got?
I've actually got Buzz, and Buzz is gonna share with us chapter 9 because I don't want anything to happen and we not have the opportunity to hear him read this part of the story, and just to hear it in his own voice, and to be able to get him to share that part with us. And then I have a question to ask him, but I want him to do that for us first.
Okay, so this is chapter 9. This is the first time the 2 key players in this novel meet up, the boy and the girl, man and the woman. And after they have their both unusual experiences that are pretty rough on both of them, they meet in this church, and he's invited there because he has all these injuries, and he's just messed up, and he's really thin and scarred up, and fingers are recovering because they've all been broken. And I'll just read this. He passes by a piano after the service, and I'll just start reading from here. Says he passed by an open doorway to a small, elegantly furnished room with a red shag carpet. An old piano stood at the center of attention, facing away from the doorway. Kelly slowly moved over to the worn Baldwin and cautiously pecked a couple of keys as he carefully pushed himself on the bench. The volume of other church members' conversations grew as they gathered in the foyer outside the room. Kelly could hear some talking with the minister. He started to hit some old notes of a song that his mother had once taught him. He was drawn to it because it captured the very essence of his isolation and loneliness. As he started to press each key, it slowly started coming back to him. As time goes by, he moves to the beginning of the tune. As you must remember this, a kiss is just a kiss. He felt the need to keep playing, even though his fingers started to hurt, each of them bent and misshapen. Two splints remained on two fingers of each hand. He tried to keep his playing soft so it would not disturb anyone. Suddenly he heard a beautiful voice start singing the song behind him. Was he going crazy? She was directly behind him, and he made no effort to turn, just painfully kept playing. He had heard this voice somewhere before, but could not recall where. The voice was beautiful. The tonal quality was low, smooth, almost unnaturally low. Then would rise higher in pitch, creating a flawless connection with the lower notes as she continued. Her vibrato was perfectly controlled, yet smooth except for the occasional small vocal fry at the end of some phrases. He was filled with an emotion he knew he would not be able to contain. A small crowd of church people had started to gather around them in the small room. He had not been able to conjure up any sort of emotion for years. He was dead inside. Now there was this, and worse yet, in front of people he did not know. Then there was that voice that continued behind him. He was consumed. He could not choke it back, and tears welled up in his eyes, almost brimming over as he continued to play haltingly, painfully, as the woman continued to draw him along into the song. He could feel sobs starting, but he kept playing. Tears fell onto the keys below him. He felt a soft hand on his shoulder as she gently squeezed assuredly, softly stroking his shoulder. She kept singing. Oh my God, he thought. She will feel how thin and bony I am. She kept her hand on his shoulder as the song was ending. Her soulful, beautiful voice continuing to move him to tears. The song came to an end, and he moved his hands to his lap and lowered his head. He felt her arms around his neck from behind, wrapping around him, again probably feeling how thin and frail he was. She smelled and felt so good. His senses were overwhelmed by the gentle human contact he felt that he did not deserve. What was that perfume? Crazy thought. She gave a small laugh and said, Damn, the first real man I've met in a while. She gave him a peck on the cheek. He struggled to his feet, turning as she released him. He saw a beautiful young woman with what struck him as the most expressive brown eyes he had ever seen. She was short and very petite. She had long, straight, dark brown hair with bangs over her forehead. She wore a simple, light yellow sleeveless dress. He was entranced. He kept hearing her voice in his head as he gazed stupidly at her with his tear-streaked face. It then occurred to him the small audience that they had gained was giving them an applause. Someone sternly insisted, Caitlin, we have to go now. She turned and nodded to the small mustached man with dark shoulder-length hair. She returned her gaze to him, held his eyes deeply, and then reached out her hand to grasp the back of his hand. What's your name? She asked. Kelly, he croaked out. Kelly Chase. He looked at her, expecting a quick response, only to receive a deep stare with a small smile on her lips. Caitlin, she said, Caitlin, she said, and then broke off. I gotta go, sorry. She rushed away with the man. She glanced back at him over her shoulder one last time as she reached the doorway, then left, leaving him there, knees knocking, to weigh the surreal experience.
And so it begins. Oh, I love it.
And who is not a writer? Wow.
Now I have a question for you because you did something with this book that is very unusual. And you gave the reader an opportunity to choose their ending.
Hmm.
And what made you go that route? What was it that made you offer that? And yeah, I was just very
So,
interested in why you decided to do that.
so without giving too much away, I wrote
Mhm.
the original ending as a less than sad ending, let's say.
Okay.
And after it was published, I thought, gosh, did I mess this up? You know, because really, I thought it should have a different ending that's a little more less than happy. And I thought I it deserved that too, I thought. So I got with the publisher and we talked about it. And gets kind of messy. So he agreed that if I wanted to redo it, I could redo it. So
Mhm.
we redid the ending to a less than happy ending. And the intention was to put both endings in that second publication. You know,
Okay,
we
yeah,
we would have the less than happy ending, and then if a person
Mhm.
didn't like that, we'll read on because there's a different ending.
is a choice. Yeah, yeah.
But that got messed up. The second publishing of the book just contained the unhappy ending.
Oh.
And then it came out, and oh, no, 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 that's not what we want. So we did it a third time, and the third time has both endings in it. And the
Oh,
Audible version has both endings in it.
okay.
So
Okay.
if a person goes and does the Audible, then they can get both of those versions. But there is a book out that I think the one that sells on Amazon has both endings in it.
Mhm.
Finally. So I
Yeah.
just, my deal was, is I thought well, you know how you guys, when you write, we fall in love with our characters and we
Right.
Mhm.
become those characters. And to hurt one of them is a hard thing to do, I discovered.
Mhm.
And so with the original ending, I thought about a less than happy ending, but I thought, no, 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 I can't do that. So quite frankly, I didn't have the guts
Mhm.
until I thought
Oh.
about it later. And then, yeah.
Do you have any idea of which ending people are choosing?
I've heard more than once that the happier of the two endings is much, much more preferred.
Oh.
Really? I'm surprised. Okay. Okay. All right. Well,
But I'm a horrible romantic, as you could probably figure that out.
Yeah.
And
Well, horrible and romantic do not belong in the
and
same sentence because I
yeah,
am a romantic as
and
well.
those of us that work for the railroad and log in the woods, we don't do that stuff. So so it's an interesting deal.
well, either one that is chosen, you can't go wrong. You can't
No.
go
No.
because it really
Mm-mm.
is. Both of them are
Yeah.
good. It just kind of depends on where the reader's head is at the time and what they prefer. But it
Well,
it's both of them are good.
so I actually did a reading at a personal residence I was invited down to down in California. We know where the Carpenters live,
Uh-huh. Oh
and
wow.
there's some community members down there, some women that wanted me to come down, and I got to know one of them, and so she invited me down. Her and her husband were very gracious, and they wanted me to read the less than happy ending. So I I started reading this ending, and I was kind of like, I was like, God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this.
Oh.
Uh,
And these women are crying and carrying on, and I'm thinking, oh
Oh.
my God, Jesus. Even the cat was crying, and I thought, oh my God.
Oh.
well done, sir. Well done.
Yes.
Both endings. Well done. Well done.
Yes.
I know Victoria has a couple of things for you before our time is going by so fast.
It is going fast, and I tell you, you are the epitome of how we say here, Authors Up, nobody can tell a story like
Mhm.
the author can. And you have certainly given us an insight. I would have never, number one, thought this was your debut novel and that it only took you 3 months. Y'all, get the book. Get the book. It is a beautiful, like the bio said, a timeless story of love. And I felt all emotions with this book. From I felt such empathy. I cried, got a little teary, like, oh, when certain character, I don't want to tell too much either. I don't want to tell, but it's a really good story. And all I can say is, what's next? Because this cannot be your only novel. Please don't say that. Please, you cannot be a one and done. Please.
Well, I'm cooking up a couple of other schemes, and
Okay.
I've had people tell me, your life is so wild. Why don't you write about it? God, I'm just not one of those guys that writes about myself. I just hate that. So what I'll do probably is use the basis of the wild things that have gone on in my existence to fashion a story that is fictional yet based in fact uh, with me. So
Right.
'cause I'm just that way. What got me down that stream is I once read that book about a million pieces or something like that. Oprah had this guy on her thing, and then it was all a big fabrication.
Oh, yeah, no, I
And
remember that.
I thought, I'm never doing that. Even if it's the truth, I'm never doing that because people think, oh, that's stupid. That didn't happen.
Right.
So I'm working on that.
Okay.
And it's kind of tragic, and it will take some heavy lifting to get through it.
Well, do you think any of you is in Saving Casey?
That did come up, and
Mm-hmm,
I mentioned, I said, someone mentioned, well, asked me the same question. I said, no, not in there. And my publisher dragged me. He said, you're all over that damn book. What's wrong with you? I said, I am. And that's the realization. We put ourselves in this thing.
Oh, yeah, we do.
We don't even know it. And then
right.
somebody will point it out. Well, that's you.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah.
Well, how has the book been received that you know of?
I haven't heard any bad things, and everyone seems to enjoy it. We're trying to get a little more traction. I'm hoping that the Audible will gain us a little more traction. I've been kind of watching that to see, as debut authors, you guys experienced this. We put something out there, we don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And when somebody doesn't buy it, we're going, oh, they don't like me.
Right. Well, we love it. You will definitely get a good review from at least us. You will definitely get, because we pride ourselves on that too. We read the books and then we give reviews to our authors because we believe in you. We believe in you, and this is a beautiful story. It touched my romantic heart, I tell you. As if our listeners and our viewers would like to get in touch with you, but with any questions or just want to know more about you, how can they get in touch with you, and where can they find your book?
We do have a website.
Okay.
It's called savingkcthestory.com.
Yes.
So it's initial K, initial C, Saving KC the Story. On the cover, you'll see a license plate, that KC1. That's the license plate on Karen Carpenter's Mercedes-Benz. That's the last car she owned. So that's where that came from.
Wow.
So the glove.
Can we see the book? I know you have it. Can you show it to us?
I don't know. Is it backwards?
You can see it.
It's backwards.
Well, no, I can read it fine myself.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
So that's us saving the KC, Karen Ann Carpenter.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's kind of what that means, and that was another story altogether, to creation of that. So.
Oh, well, we didn't get to that part tonight, but beautiful book, beautiful story, and it was just an honor to meet you and talk with you about your book. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. You guys were fun.
Yeah, thank you. We tried.
Outstanding.
Thank you. Well, again, I can echo what Victoria said, and definitely, uh, listeners, get the book.
Get the
It's a
book.
great story. It's
Two
well.
thumbs up. Two thumbs
And
up.
I tell you what, and if you do, and when you do, and you get an opportunity to read it, let us know which ending you liked. I'm
Uh-huh.
curious about finding out which ending you liked.
Yeah.
So, Ruth, you have some sign off information for everybody.
Yes, I do. So we are on social media. We are on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube. Just search for Authors Up Show. Follow, like, subscribe. Go take us with you wherever you go. You can catch a replay on Facebook on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So the show will be uploaded, however, to YouTube and to the podcast midweek. So we'll be available there as well. And you can email us at authorsup@gmail.com with questions if you're interested in coming a guest on the show, or just letting us know which ending you liked.
Absolutely. And that is
Awesome.
it for us. Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. Nakayeta, thank you so much for tuning in from New York. And Leah, thank you so much for being here, as well as all of the other people who have joined us and who are listening in, whether you commented or not. We thank you for being here. We thank you so much, Buzz, for being here tonight
Mhm.
and allowing us to share in this wonderful story that you've written. And that is it for us for the evening. We are here Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Love to tell you what we've got going on and all the things that are getting ready to happen, but you got to come back.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's caveat. You got to come back and see for yourself. So put us on your calendar for Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. We will be right here. And we thank you for joining. Thank you, Buzz. And come back next week because you never know what's going to happen
Never
when you
know.
tune
I
in
might have my
to
new
Authors Up.
bookshelf by next week.
Good
My
night.
Uh-oh.
bookshelf may pop back here.
Yeah, we'll just
Good night, Bronze Girl. Good night, Buzz.
Take
good
care.
night.
Bye bye.
Bye, Buzz.